My beloved child, as the waves of the ocean rise and fall, so too do the seasons of life. Sometimes, the tide brings abundance, and other times it recedes, leaving us feeling empty, unsure of what comes next. In these moments, we must remember the story of Solomon, the son of David, whose heart was anchored in prayer. In 1 Kings 3:5-14, we find Solomon standing at the edge of uncertainty, much like the shoreline before a vast sea. He did not ask for riches or fame. Instead, he sought wisdom, and in his humility, God gave him blessings that stretched far beyond the horizon of his dreams. This story, my beloved, speaks directly to us today. It is not just a tale of ancient times, it is a reflection of the power that lies within a prayer for financial miracles. Solomon's life was transformed because he sought God's wisdom before all else. And through that wisdom, the doors to wealth and honor were flung open. Just as the seed that falls into fertile soil bursts forth into a mighty tree, so too will your life bloom when you place your trust in God's guidance. Before we continue, I invite you to subscribe to this channel, for the lessons we are about to unfold will bring light to your journey. Share your thoughts below, and let us walk together in faith, discovering the miracles that God has prepared for us, especially in the realm of our finances. Solomon's prayer, a beacon of trust and humility. Imagine the young Solomon, newly crowned king, standing before the Lord in a dream. God offers him an open invitation: ask for whatever you want me to give you. It is as if the sun has just risen over the vast expanse of Solomon's future, casting light on endless possibilities. Yet, instead of asking for wealth, glory, or the defeat of his enemies, Solomon humbly requests wisdom, a gift not for himself but for the people he was called to serve. This prayer, my beloved, is the key to unlocking divine favor. Like a river that carves its way through mountains, Solomon's humility cut a path for God's blessings to flow abundantly into his life. God did not just grant him wisdom, he poured out riches and honor in such abundance that Solomon became one of the greatest kings in history. And this, my child, is the nature of a prayer for financial miracles. When you seek God first, when you align your heart with His will, He blesses you with more than you could ever imagine. What might happen in your life if you approached God with that same humility, that same faith? Picture yourself standing before the Lord, offering Him not just your desires, but your trust. Just as the morning dew nourishes the earth in ways unseen, so too will God's provision seep into every corner of your life, bringing forth fruit where there was once drought. The power of trust and surrender in prayer. Think of your financial situation like a tree in winter. The branches may be bare, the wind harsh, but deep beneath the surface, life is stirring. The roots are growing, preparing for the abundance that spring will bring. This is what it means to offer a prayer for financial miracles, to trust that even when the landscape looks barren, God is working in unseen ways. He is nurturing the seeds of faith you have planted, and in His perfect timing, they will break through the soil and bloom into a harvest of blessings. Just as Solomon's wisdom blossomed into wealth and honor, so too will your faith, when anchored in God, bring forth the miracles you seek. But remember, the key to unlocking these miracles lies not in striving, but in surrender. Like a bird that soars effortlessly on the wind, We are called to release our fears and let God carry us. When you place your finances in God's hands, you are lifted above the worries of the world. You are no longer bound by the limits of what you can see. You are free to soar on the wings of faith, trusting that God will provide. God's provision is like an overflowing cup when you offer your prayer for financial miracles. You are inviting God to fill your cup. But here is the beauty: God doesn't just fill it to the brim. He causes it to overflow. His blessings are like the rain that falls on parched land, soaking deep into the soil, reviving all that was dry and lifeless. When you trust Him, when you place your financial burdens before Him, He answers with abundance, not just enough to get by, but more than enough to thrive. Think of Solomon once more. He asked for wisdom, and God gave him wealth. He sought understanding, and God granted him honor. This is the nature of God's blessings. They always exceed our expectations. Just as the sun rises higher than the tallest tree, so too does God's provision rise above our greatest hopes. All He asks is that we trust Him, that we seek Him first, and that we believe in His promises. A call to act in faith, my beloved child. Do you hear the call? Like the wind that whispers through the trees, God is calling you to trust Him with your finances, to release your fears and worries, and to step out in faith, just as Solomon responded with humility and obedience. You too are invited to act, whether it is giving generously, investing wisely, or simply trusting God in the face of uncertainty. Know that your obedience opens the door to blessings beyond measure. When you pray for a prayer for financial miracles, do so with the confidence that God is already working on your behalf. Picture the waters of a river, steady and sure, carving a path through even the hardest rock. This is how God's provision works. It may start as a trickle, but over time, it becomes a mighty current, sweeping away every obstacle and bringing new life to everything it touches. Conclusion, my beloved child. As we draw near to the end of this reflection, let the story of Solomon linger in your heart. His prayer was simple, yet it changed the course of his life. He trusted in God's wisdom, and in return, he received not just what he asked for, but so much more. This is the promise that awaits you when you offer your prayer for financial miracles, a promise of abundance, of provision, and of peace. Before you leave, I invite you once more to subscribe to this channel, so that we may continue walking this path of faith together. Share your reflections in the comments below, and let us encourage one another as we witness the incredible ways in which God is working in our lives. Remember, my beloved, that God's blessings are like the ocean, vast, deep, and never-ending. Trust Him, and He will pour out His grace upon you, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, until your cup overflows with His goodness. Let your heart rest in this truth, and watch as God turns your prayers into miracles. 1. Introduction. The story of Solomon's rebirth through prayer, 1 Kings 3:5-14, in the vast kingdom of Israel. A young king, Solomon, stood before an immense responsibility. Though surrounded by unimaginable wealth and authority, deep within, Solomon understood that these material riches were not enough. He needed something greater, divine guidance. One night, in the stillness of his thoughts, God appeared to him in a dream and posed a question that would change Solomon's life forever: "What do you want me to give you?" This question carried with it a potential far greater than earthly power. It was the opportunity for a prayer for financial miracle. Solomon, realizing the weight of his new role, did not ask for wealth, long life, or the destruction of his enemies. Instead, in a profound moment of humility, he prayed for wisdom. Solomon sought the understanding to discern right from wrong, to govern his people justly, and to fulfill his responsibilities as king. In response, God not only granted him unparalleled wisdom, but also showered him with blessings beyond his request: wealth, honor, and peace throughout his reign. This moment reveals the power of aligning our prayers with God's will. Solomon's prayer was a catalyst for divine intervention that brought both spiritual and financial blessings. As we reflect on this story, imagine God coming to you and asking the same question: "What do you want me to give you?" How would you respond? Would you ask for financial abundance? Or would you, like Solomon, seek wisdom to manage the resources you already have? This question invites us to think deeply about the nature of prayer for financial miracle. True financial miracles are not about asking for more wealth, but about seeking God's guidance in how we steward the blessings He has already given us. Have you ever paused to ask God for wisdom in your financial decisions? Or do your prayers tend to focus on asking for more? Solomon's story teaches us a profound lesson about the relationship between wisdom and wealth. When we seek God's guidance first, we position ourselves to receive not only spiritual clarity but also the material blessings that follow. A financial miracle through wisdom. Solomon's prayer opened the door to a financial miracle that went far beyond what he could have imagined. Not only did God grant him wisdom, but he also gave him incredible wealth and success. Solomon became one of the wealthiest and most powerful kings in history. His reign marked by prosperity and peace. The lesson for us is clear: when we seek God's wisdom, especially in managing our finances, we open the door to unexpected blessings. Sometimes, the financial breakthrough we desire is not about receiving more but about learning how to use what we have wisely. The Bible teaches us that prayer for financial miracle isn't about accumulating wealth for selfish gain. Instead, it's about aligning our financial desires with God's greater plan for our lives. In your own life, have you ever experienced moments where God provided for your financial needs in ways you didn't expect? Perhaps after praying for guidance, you found clarity in how to manage your resources. Or maybe an unexpected opportunity arose. Solomon's story reminds us that God's blessings often come in ways that surpass our understanding. Take a moment to reflect: how has God answered your prayers for financial wisdom? Have you seen the fruits of those prayers manifest in your life through better financial decisions or unforeseen blessings? If so, it's a testimony to the power of trusting God with your finances and praying for wisdom over wealth. How to pray for financial miracles like Solomon. So, how can we pray for a financial miracle like Solomon did? The first step is humility. Solomon recognized that he could not lead without God's help. And we, too, must recognize our dependence on Him. When we approach God in prayer, it's important to focus not just on our material needs but on our need for His guidance in managing those resources. Begin your prayers with gratitude, acknowledging the blessings you already have, no matter how small they may seem. Then, like Solomon, ask for wisdom to make sound financial decisions, wisdom to discern the right opportunities, and wisdom to avoid the pitfalls of greed and selfishness. This kind of prayer for financial miracle is about trusting God to guide your steps and open doors in His timing. Think about your own financial journey. Have there been times when you've prayed for more money, but what you truly needed was wisdom to manage what you already had? Consider how your prayers might change if you shifted your focus from seeking wealth to seeking guidance. Real-life examples of financial miracles through prayer. Many people have experienced financial breakthroughs through prayer, just as Solomon did. These stories often begin with a prayer not for wealth but for wisdom, guidance, and trust in God's provision. When we shift our mindset from "I need more" to "Lord, guide me in what I have," we allow space for God to work miracles in unexpected ways. Take the story of a small business owner who was struggling to make ends meet. Rather than praying for a windfall, they prayed for guidance in managing their business. Slowly but surely, doors began to open, new clients came, unexpected opportunities arose, and the business flourished. The prayer for financial miracle was answered not by receiving more money, but by receiving the wisdom to steward what they had wisely. Have you ever prayed for financial guidance and seen God work in ways you didn't expect? If so, share your story in the comments. Your testimony could be the encouragement someone else needs to keep trusting in God's provision. Conclusion: the power of prayer for financial miracles. As we conclude, the story of Solomon's prayer for wisdom teaches us a timeless lesson. When we seek God's guidance first, He provides in ways that exceed our expectations. Solomon's life was transformed through a simple prayer for understanding. And through that prayer, he received both wisdom and wealth. His reign became a testament to the power of seeking God's will over our own desires. For each of us, the lesson is clear. When we come to God in prayer, especially about our finances, we should seek not just material gain, but the wisdom to manage what we have. Prayer for financial miracle isn't about asking for more money, it's about asking for God's guidance and trusting that He will provide exactly what we need. I encourage you to take this story to heart. Reflect on your own financial journey and how you can invite God into your decisions. What would your life look like if you prayed more for wisdom than for wealth? Let's continue to trust in God's provision, knowing that through prayer, we open the door to miracles both great and small. If this story has inspired you, please take a moment to subscribe to this channel for more insights from the Bible on financial miracles. And don't forget to leave a comment below sharing how God has answered your prayers for financial guidance. Together, we can build a community of faith, trusting in God's provision and experiencing the miracles He has in store. 2. Solomon prays for wisdom. In the quiet darkness of the night, Solomon stood at the edge of a decision that would shape not only his reign but the future of Israel. Though he had inherited great wealth and power, deep in his heart, he knew that no amount of gold, silver, or earthly riches could equip him for the immense responsibility of ruling God's chosen people. Power without wisdom is like a ship adrift in the storm, lost without a compass. Solomon needed a guiding light, he needed divine wisdom. And so, with humility and reverence, he knelt in prayer. He could have asked for anything under the heavens. Riches enough to rival the wealthiest kings, a kingdom stronger than any other, or even a long life filled with peace. But instead, Solomon chose a path that defied worldly desires. He whispered a prayer that would echo through the ages, "Grant me wisdom. Lord, I seek not riches nor honor, but the understanding to discern good from evil." that I may lead your people justly." This moment was a turning point, not just for Solomon, but for anyone who dares to ask, how often do we seek worldly treasures, when in truth, what we need is wisdom to use what we already have. Solomon's prayer teaches us a lesson about priorities, one that resonates deeply with the way we manage our finances today. Can you recall a time in your life where you stood at a financial crossroads? Perhaps the temptation to ask for more wealth or success was strong. But like Solomon, the true path lay in asking for the wisdom to make the right choices. Solomon's decision to prioritize wisdom over wealth is a story that transcends time. He could have sought riches, and yet he understood that without wisdom, wealth is but a fleeting mirage. What if we approached our financial challenges in the same way? Instead of praying for a sudden windfall or an increase in our bank accounts, what would happen if we asked for wisdom first? Trusting that with wisdom comes the ability to manage whatever resources we have wisely. This is the essence of a prayer for financial miracle, not a plea for instant wealth, but a request for God's divine guidance in managing our finances. Consider this: when Solomon asked for wisdom, God was so pleased with his request that he not only granted him wisdom but also showered him with wealth, honor, and peace. This teaches us that when we align our hearts with God's will, when we seek understanding over possessions, God often provides far more than we could ever ask for. Have you ever experienced a time when you prayed for guidance instead of wealth and were blessed in unexpected ways? How did that prayer change your perspective on finances? In today's world, it's easy to become consumed by the chase for more. We are bombarded with messages telling us to seek bigger houses, fancier cars, and higher salaries. But what if, like Solomon, we took a step back and asked ourselves, what is the true measure of success? Is it the accumulation of wealth? Or is it the ability to use our resources wisely and for good? Solomon's story reminds us that the path to true financial blessings is often paved with wisdom, not gold. Solomon's prayer wasn't just for himself, it was for the kingdom he would lead, for the generations that would follow. His wisdom became a beacon of hope and prosperity for Israel, a kingdom that thrived not because of its riches but because of its righteousness. What if we approached our financial lives with that same mindset? Instead of asking God to increase our wealth, we could pray for the wisdom to steward what we already have, trusting that He will provide in ways beyond our understanding. Through a prayer for financial miracle, we don't just ask for more, we ask for clarity, for discernment, and for the strength to manage what we have with integrity. And when we do that, God often responds with blessings far greater than we could ever imagine. So, think about it. Have you ever faced a financial decision where, instead of asking for more, you prayed for wisdom? How did that prayer shape your choices? Did it lead to a result that surprised you? Much like God's response to Solomon's humble request, God's answers often come in ways we don't expect, but they always come with a purpose. Solomon's story teaches us that when we trust God with our financial concerns, He blesses us not only materially but spiritually. It's easy to think that money is the answer to all our problems, but as Solomon discovered, wisdom is the key that unlocks the door to lasting peace and prosperity. What might happen if you prayed for wisdom before making your next financial decision? How would that shift in perspective change the way you approach your finances? By seeking wisdom first, we open ourselves up to the fullness of God's blessings. He knows our needs better than we do. And when we place our trust in Him, He provides in ways we could never have imagined. Solomon's reign was filled with wealth and honor. But more importantly, it was filled with righteousness because he chose to place his trust in God's wisdom. Through this story, we learn that the true prayer for financial miracle is not a request for immediate riches but a plea for the insight to manage what we have wisely. It's about trusting that God will guide us to make decisions that not only bless us but those around us. Have you ever experienced a moment where trusting in God's wisdom led to unexpected blessings? Solomon's story reminds us that when we seek God's guidance first, the blessings will follow. 3. Financial miracles from wisdom. In Solomon's case, what began as a simple prayer for wisdom blossomed into one of the greatest miracles of his reign. God, in his infinite generosity, did not stop at granting Solomon wisdom alone. He went beyond, gifting him wealth, prosperity, and honor, making Solomon not only one of the wisest men to ever live but also one of the richest kings in Israel's history. His wisdom became renowned across the nations, and rulers came from far and wide to seek his counsel. This story teaches us a powerful lesson. Sometimes, when we seek what truly matters, God blesses us with more than we ever imagined. Solomon didn't ask for wealth, but God saw his heart, and in return, gave him both wisdom and riches. Could it be that the financial miracle you're waiting for is simply on the other side of praying for wisdom? We often find ourselves in situations where we think more money will solve our problems. A larger bank account, a better paying job, or a big investment can seem like the answer to our financial struggles. But Solomon's story reminds us that true financial success is not always about how much we have, but about how wisely we manage what God has already given us. Have you ever experienced a time when, instead of asking for more money, you prayed for wisdom on how to use what you already had, and God blessed you in unexpected ways? Think about this in the context of your own financial life. Are you praying for wealth? Or are you praying for wisdom in managing the resources you have? Like Solomon, when we put our trust in God, seeking his guidance and wisdom, the miracles often come in ways we didn't expect. What if the prayer for financial miracle was not about asking for more, but about asking for the wisdom to steward our resources well? In today's fast-paced world, where the focus is so often on instant success and material gain, Solomon's approach seems almost revolutionary. Instead of rushing after wealth, he paused and asked for wisdom, and the financial blessings followed. Imagine what could happen in your own life if, instead of striving for more, you sought wisdom first. What would it look like to pray for guidance in your financial decisions, trusting that God will bless you as he did Solomon? It might just be that the financial breakthrough you're seeking is less about receiving more and more about managing what you already have. The prayer for financial miracle that we offer to God is not always about increasing our wealth. Sometimes, the miracle is in the wisdom he grants us to make decisions that lead to long-lasting prosperity. Wisdom helps us avoid pitfalls, manage risks, and invest in the future with confidence. Just as Solomon's wisdom brought him wealth, your own wisdom, when guided by God, can open doors to unexpected financial blessings. When we ask for wisdom, we are essentially asking God to equip us with the tools we need to create our own miracles. Have you ever found yourself blessed with something you didn't ask for, simply because you trusted God with your prayers? That's the beauty of Solomon's story. He didn't ask for riches, but God, in his divine wisdom, saw fit to bless him with everything he needed, and more. This is how God works. When we seek his wisdom, he sees our heart and blesses us in ways that go beyond our expectations. When Solomon prayed for wisdom, he unlocked the secret to true financial success. The ability to manage wealth well is far more valuable than the wealth itself. And this is a lesson we can all apply today. What if the financial miracle you're praying for is not a larger paycheck, but the wisdom to make better decisions with what you already have? How might your financial situation change if you approached every decision with the prayer, God, grant me the wisdom to manage this well? The truth is, financial miracles come in many forms. Sometimes it's a surprise bonus at work, or a sudden investment opportunity. But other times, it's the wisdom to avoid a costly mistake, the patience to wait for the right moment, or the discipline to save and invest wisely. Solomon's story reminds us that when we seek God's wisdom first, the blessings will follow. Through the prayer for financial miracle, we are not just asking for more, we are asking for the ability to recognize and act on the opportunities God places before us. So, as you reflect on Solomon's story, consider this: what would happen if, instead of asking for more, you prayed for the wisdom to manage what you already have? How might God bless you in unexpected ways, just as he did with Solomon? 4. Learn to pray like Solomon. Solomon's prayer, offered with humility and sincerity, reveals a deeper truth about how we should approach our own conversations with God. When we pray, it is often easy to ask for wealth, comfort, and success, believing that these material blessings will solve our problems. But Solomon's wisdom guides us to a more profound understanding. The key to true financial prosperity is not found in the accumulation of wealth, but in the wisdom to manage what we already have. Have you ever found yourself praying for material success, only to realize later that what you truly needed was the wisdom to handle what you had already been given? Solomon's prayer is a reminder that we should approach God with the same heart. Instead of asking for more money or material things, we should humbly ask for the insight to make wise financial decisions. Can you imagine what might change in your life if your prayers shifted from asking for wealth to asking for the wisdom to manage your current blessings? The real miracle is not always in receiving more. Sometimes, the miracle lies in discovering how to use what God has already provided. Take a moment to reflect on this. Solomon's wisdom became the foundation for his financial success. He asked God for understanding, and in return, God granted him riches, honor, and peace. But it wasn't the wealth that defined Solomon's reign, it was his ability to manage it with wisdom and integrity. How would your life be different if you prayed for wisdom before every financial decision? How would that wisdom change the way you approach your daily finances? Throughout history, there are countless stories of individuals who have experienced financial miracles not through sudden wealth but through the wisdom God gave them to manage their resources wisely. When we pray for financial wisdom, we are asking God to lead us, to show us the way to use what we have to its fullest potential. Have you ever experienced a time when God's guidance helped you make a financial decision that led to greater blessings than you ever expected? The power of a prayer for financial miracle is not limited to asking for more money. It encompasses a broader vision, asking for the wisdom to steward our resources in a way that honors God. By seeking wisdom, we are trusting God to guide us in every decision, big or small, knowing that He sees the bigger picture and knows what is best for us. When we approach God with humility, acknowledging that His wisdom is far greater than our own, we open the door to miracles. Think about a time when you made a financial decision on your own, without seeking God's guidance. How did that turn out? Now, consider what might have happened if you had first prayed for wisdom, trusting that God would lead you in the right direction. Real-life examples abound of individuals who have experienced the transformative power of praying for wisdom rather than wealth. They have learned that managing what they have with care, discipline, and wisdom often leads to greater blessings than they ever imagined. When we surrender our financial plans to God, we allow Him to direct our steps, and the results can be miraculous. Imagine how your financial life might change if, like Solomon, you began each day with a prayer for wisdom. What if, instead of worrying about how to increase your income, you focused on how to wisely manage the resources you already have? What new doors might God open for you if you trusted Him with your financial decisions? Through the prayer for financial miracle, we are reminded that God's blessings come in many forms. Sometimes, He grants us the material wealth we ask for. But more often, He gives us the wisdom to handle our finances in a way that brings lasting success. What if your next financial breakthrough wasn't a bigger paycheck, but the clarity and wisdom to manage your finances better? Solomon's prayer shows us that when we seek God's wisdom first, everything else falls into place. In conclusion, learning to pray like Solomon means shifting our focus from asking for more to asking for wisdom. When we approach God with humility and a heart that desires understanding, He blesses us in ways that go beyond what we could have imagined. Financial miracles are not always about receiving more. Often, they are about being given the wisdom to use what we already have wisely. So, the next time you face a financial decision, remember Solomon's example. What might happen if you prayed for wisdom instead of wealth? How could that change your financial future and lead to greater blessings than you ever expected? God's wisdom is the true source of financial miracles. And when we trust Him with our finances, we open the door to a life of abundance and peace. 5. People who receive financial blessings through prayer. Many have walked the difficult path of financial hardship, feeling burdened by the weight of their circumstances, much like a ship caught in a storm with no clear direction. Yet, through prayer and trust in God's wisdom, these individuals found the calm amidst the storm. Their stories of transformation are powerful reminders of the miracles that come when we place our faith in God and seek His guidance. Not merely for wealth, but for the wisdom to manage our resources with grace and understanding. One such story is of a man who had lost nearly everything. He had invested in a business, only to watch it crumble before his eyes, leaving him financially ruined and emotionally drained. In his despair, he turned to prayer, not asking for a quick fix or a sudden windfall, but for the wisdom to rebuild his life. Night after night, he prayed for clarity and guidance, seeking what Solomon once sought, a path illuminated by God's wisdom. How many times have you faced a similar challenge? Have you, too, found yourself praying for a way out? Not through more money, but through the wisdom to navigate your circumstances. Over time, his prayers were answered, not with a sudden influx of wealth, but with opportunities he hadn't noticed before, small steps that allowed him to rebuild slowly and steadily. Today, his business is thriving, And he credits his success not to material wealth but to the wisdom God granted him during his darkest moments. Have you ever experienced a financial breakthrough that came through unexpected wisdom rather than more money? How did it change your perspective on financial success? Another powerful example comes from a woman who, for years, struggled to make ends meet. Despite working tirelessly, she could never seem to break free from the cycle of debt and financial stress. Frustrated and exhausted, she decided to shift her prayers. Instead of asking God to provide more money, she began praying for wisdom to manage her finances, wisdom to make better decisions, and wisdom to trust in God's timing. It wasn't an overnight change, but slowly, she began to see her life transform through careful budgeting, thoughtful spending, and a deeper reliance on God. She moved from financial instability to a place of peace and prosperity. Could it be that the wisdom you seek in your own financial life is just one prayer away? What might happen if you asked God not for wealth, but for the insight to manage what you already have? These stories reflect a profound truth. Financial miracles don't always come in the form of sudden wealth or unexpected financial gains. Instead, they often manifest as the wisdom to manage our resources in ways that lead to lasting success. What if the prayer for financial miracle you've been waiting for is not about receiving more, but about discovering how to steward what you already have? Like the individuals in these stories, the key to their success wasn't more money, it was the wisdom God granted them in response to their prayers. Solomon himself received a similar blessing. When he asked for wisdom, God didn't just give him the ability to govern wisely, he also granted Solomon unparalleled wealth and prosperity. But the heart of Solomon's success lay in his understanding of what truly matters. Wisdom is the foundation of all financial blessings. When we seek God's wisdom first, everything else follows. The transformation from financial struggle to success is not always immediate, but it is always profound. The stories of those who have experienced this shift are living testaments to the power of faith and prayer. What financial challenges are you facing right now? And how might your prayer life change if you sought wisdom instead of wealth? Trusting God with our finances means trusting Him to provide the wisdom we need to manage our resources well. Through consistent and heartfelt prayer for financial miracle, we open the door to God's guidance in ways we could never predict. Just as He did for Solomon, God is ready to bless us with wisdom that can transform our financial situations from despair to success. But it requires persistence and faith, a willingness to ask not just for wealth, but for the ability to steward what we have with integrity and grace. So, as you reflect on these stories, ask yourself, what would change in your financial life if you prayed for wisdom before praying for wealth? How might God transform your circumstances through His divine guidance? The real miracle may not be in the money itself but in the wisdom to manage it wisely, turning what we have into something far greater than we ever imagined. When we pray with the right heart, seeking wisdom, patience, and faith, God's blessings often come in ways that surprise us. The financial miracle you are waiting for might not look the way you expect, but it will come. Trust that as you continue to offer your prayers with humility and faith, God will guide your steps and provide in ways that exceed your expectations. Have you ever prayed for wisdom and received blessings that far surpassed what you asked for? What did you learn from that experience? And how did it shape your financial future? 6. Conclusion. As we draw to a close in our exploration of the wisdom of Solomon, and its profound implications for our financial lives today, we can distill essential lessons that resonate deeply with our spiritual and financial journeys. Solomon's story isn't just a narrative from the distant past, it's a blueprint for modern financial wisdom. Deeply rooted in faith and prayer, Solomon's request for wisdom over wealth is a powerful testament to the priorities that we, too, might consider in our financial dealings. How often do we find ourselves praying for immediate solutions to financial pressures, rather than the wisdom to navigate through them? Solomon teaches us that true wealth comes not from the abundance of possessions but from the richness of divine wisdom. Have you ever found yourself at a crossroads, choosing between immediate gain and the long-term wisdom of prudent financial management? What guided your decision in that moment? In our prayers for financial miracles, it's essential to remember that such miracles can often come in the form of enlightened decision-making. By embracing prayer for financial miracle, we open ourselves not just to sudden windfalls but to an ongoing journey of financial prudence guided by God's hand. This divine guidance enables us to manage our blessings wisely, ensuring that they serve not only our needs but also allow us to be a blessing to others. Reflecting on your own life, when have you experienced a financial decision that you believe was influenced by divine guidance? Let us, therefore, be persistent in our prayers, not wavering in the face of financial adversity. Just as Solomon's wisdom led Israel to a golden age of prosperity and peace, our continued faith in God's providence can guide us through the complexities of modern financial challenges. It is not merely about asking for more but about being wise stewards of what we have. In what ways has persistence in prayer changed your financial outlook or circumstances? As we conclude, I encourage you not only to subscribe to our channel for more biblical insights into financial miracles but also to share your experiences in the comments below. How has prayer for financial miracles shaped your financial journey? Have you seen tangible changes in your life after aligning your financial strategies with divine wisdom? Remember, each prayer and every act of faith is a step towards a future where financial stability and spiritual fulfillment go hand in hand. Let's continue this journey together, learning, growing, and witnessing the miracles that faith in God's wisdom can unveil in our lives. As we close this journey together, let us remember that the wisdom of Solomon still echoes through the ages, guiding us in both spiritual and financial matters. His story reminds us that true wealth is not measured by the abundance of material things but by the divine wisdom we receive when we humbly seek God's guidance. Prayer for financial miracles is more than just asking for money, it's about opening our hearts to God's plan, trusting that He will provide not only what we need but the wisdom to manage it. So, as you reflect on your own financial journey, I invite you to continue praying with faith, with persistence, and with the belief that God's blessings will unfold in ways you may not even expect. The real miracle often lies in our ability to trust, to let go, and to be led by His wisdom. Have you experienced a moment where a financial prayer was answered in a way that surprised you? Share your story in the comments and let it inspire others to keep faith. Don't forget to subscribe for more insights into how the teachings of the Bible can guide us through life's financial challenges. Together, we'll continue seeking God's wisdom and watching for the miracles that follow. Amen.